This has quickly become for me a tale of a fighter that you constantly say, you're really good, but are you that good? And they have to prove themselves, and they prove themselves with flying colors every single time. There was a moment that the broadcast team brought up where Manon Fiorot was on the stool. I think it was maybe after the second round, and she told her coaches, I'm winning this. Like, I'm actually winning. So it's like, first off, you have to overcome the mountain that is Rose Namajunas and all that she's accomplished in her career. But for her to be like, now I have the belief, I'm actually in real life seeing, I'm doing it, I'm beating up my idols who have, now become my rivals. And to see that she was kind of bullying around Rose, man, that was no good. But we have to talk about the elephant in the room. So before we bring in the broken, mixed up finger, AJ, do you think that Manon Fiorot in a 10-fight series would get the better of Rose Namajunas, no matter if there was a barred injury or anything like that?
Unfortunately, Derek, as much as it hurts for me to say it, yes. I think about 8, maybe even 9 times out of 10, it just seemed like Manon Fiorot was too big, too long, had too much skill already built up for the skill level of Rose Namajunas to kind of surpass that mountain. And admittedly, like you said, Manon Fiorot, the mental game that Rose presents is quite a hell of a mountain, because everybody's seeing her. She's been at the top of the pinnacle. She's been on the billboard. She has all the lights, all the stars, all the fans. And now you're trying to get to that. It is quite a mental leap. But when you realize it's just mental and now you have the physical attributes to surpass her, that's where Manon Fiorot really started to come in and shine. And with that one fight, you put them up, you rack them up 10 again. I do think Manon Fiorot is going to get a vast majority of them. And like I said, it hurts to say, but it just seemed like even with the broken finger, Rose Namajunas was just didn't have enough X factor to overcome Manon Fiorot's X factor. And like I said, it hurts to say it, Derek, but do you agree with me?
Yeah, man, and especially when you started seeing a couple desperation shots, like we need to mix it up, we need to get to the grappling, and then Fiorot was just sprawling every single time, nothing, no. And then the time that Rose actually was in deep on one, Fiorot was just too big, and she just muscled out of it, right? So when all of the people, this is another point of the accountability hour, when everybody was kind of mentioning, hey, listen, Fiorot, she's literally just too big, she's too strong, and you can't really always take that into account in terms of a fist fight, because we've seen the differences before in terms of skill level. But this, I think, when you're in a comparable skill and you're bigger and stronger, that's when it's just like, man, it was too much to overcome. This is indeed Rose's finger. So when you have an injury like this that happens in the first round, and then Pat Barry is like, you don't need a finger, man, you'll be all right, just keep fighting. Obviously, that's what he needed to do. You have to continue to motivate your fighter to compete. The fight's not over just because you hurt your hand, right? However, you have to agree, AJ, when your finger's sticking out like that, it's pretty damn hard to ball up a fist and actually throw it, and that's your power hand. So given that Rose had that level of success, having to be a southpaw fighter pretty much and work with her non-dominant hand, she was still tagging up Fiorot, man. What did this mean in terms of like the striking prowess of Fiorot? Because if you were getting tagged up like that, even in a dominant victory on a fighter with one hand, that does pose some questions. So what do you think?
Absolutely does it pose some questions, Derek. If the power was there for Rose, if the combinations were there, if she was feeling in her flow state, would those combinations have worked? Because we did see Manon Fiorot get rocked a couple times, and not devastatingly, not shook into where she was, back against cage, worried we were about to get her knockout. But she did get tagged up a little bit where she started to see, the deer in headlights phase start to come out. But now you put in Rose with somebody who's or you put Rose in when she's confident, when she's 100%. I do think it does bode well, but still to that point, I think Manon Fiorot has the size and the strength to be able to shell up, close in, clinch up, and get out of it. And unfortunately, I didn't see anything on Rose's side that was able to overcome that. Did you?
I mean, not particularly, man. It was just a tough outing right there, and it was one of those where in the weigh-ins, I was like, man, Rose looks a little small, right? But I think she'll be all right. And then when you saw him in the cage, you're like, whew, she looks tiny in there, man. Fiorot is a beast. She absolutely is, man. So to flip it from the Rose hour to the Manon Fiorot hour, man, she's proved herself time and time and time again. Now she says, if I fight Erin Blanchfield, that's an easy fight on my trajectory over to the title. I just think right now, her momentum, we were talking about momentum coming into the week, her momentum has just been massive. But then this is going to be the last thing that I'll touch on. Even though I think she's a fantastic talent, 2 of her biggest wins to date have now been, even though Rose was much more credentialed, fighters who are much smaller, Tabitha Ricci and Rose Namajunas, where you're able to kind of perform and stunt on these fighters who don't have the same physical advantages. That's something we should probably keep an eye out once she has to fight an Erin Blanchfield, who we saw last time is big, man. You know what I mean? So any last words on this one?
I was just going to touch on that Aaron Blanchfield fight a little bit, Derek, because that's what I'm excited for. That's going to be the real test of if whoever wins that fight is gold ready. Because, like you said, Blanchfield might not be as tall as Fiorot, but she is stout as can be, hits like a truck, and if you get her the opportunity, she's going to submit you. We've seen Manon Fiorot falter in those areas before, so I'm excited for that fight, man.
That's right. All right. Big win by Manon Fiorot, rising up those rankings. Number 3, probably going to be locked in, either staying number 3, number 2, something like that.